All right. Hello, everyone. Um, this video is going to be about Bitcoin, and essentially, the point of this video is to kind of posit my thesis or essentially my theory as to why Bitcoin is kind of primed to uh, it's primed to basically, decline in value, at least in the immediate future. Um, and so we'll kind of go over why that might be the case, right? And what's driving that possibility. Now it's important to think of like any kind of asset price movement as a probability rather than a surety. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. It's more like, this seems to me, based on my experience, knowledge, and training and education, so to speak. It seems to me that it's basically geared to fall down again. Um, so this is by the way, this is not um, a recommendation. This is not I'm not advising you or anything like that. This is just an internet artist's analysis of thinkers of sorry of Bitcoin. And so this is you have to do your own research. It's trading or investing or they can be very risky. You can lose a lot of money. Um, but so basically the point of it is that essentially you should do your own research, and if you need advice, ask an advisor or a certified someone who's able to actually help you out. And at any rate, this is not an advice, this is not a recommendation, this is just a analysis of where why the probability, why I think the probability is that Bitcoin is gonna go down, right? Um, by the way, this is I actually meant to my channel. I actually meant to make like Ukraine videos, but since Susan and the brain trust that YouTube's been, um, cracking down on it because this is a free country and this is a free honest platform on YouTube. I don't wanna get, I don't wanna risk getting my channel yeeted, so to speak. Um, and so yeah, basically, I'll actually start to make some videos on Ukraine. Again, this is like that was like my main reason of making videos. But now, I guess like I was thinking, what to do, and I was like, all right, this is my background, you know, uh, and I'm a trader, and it's like, hey, Bitcoin isn't the whole market is in news, but Bitcoin is one of those markets that's kind of sitting around for the last few weeks, and again, that's part of the reason why I figured, let's just make a video on Bitcoin. So that said, yeah, I mean, I'll still make some Ukraine videos because things are moving, so I'll take a chance. And if Susan really hates me that much, I mean, I suppose she'll, um, yeah, she'll take action, I guess. It's what was that? Free and balanced platform we have on YouTube. We don't want to piss her off. So that's it. Let's look at Bitcoin. So I'm just gonna take all these magic lines off of the chart. This is Bitcoin futures, and this is my platform that I use, it's Thinkorswim. Um, and so basically, this is where I track Bitcoin, where I trade Bitcoin. It's my preferred platform. So let's see. I'm gonna look up the index for Bitcoin. So um, yeah, again, the reason for making this video is like somewhat to like kill time and not get involved in, like really hair pulling, long, you know, time sucking Twitter like, fights, so to speak. And also, that way I don't keep on scrolling on Twitter. That's the other thing, make a video maybe like, 10, 15 minutes, I'm done, versus like, Twitter can, like, all these other platforms can really like suck your time. Um, so this is like a shortcut for me to like not waste time in a sense. That's also the other reason I like, you know what, screw this. I'm not gonna go on Twitter. I'm just gonna make a video and be done with it. And like if I feel like I want to quote unquote express myself, I just express it through this video. I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and I'm done. So that's it. Let's look at Bitcoin. And the reason again is that I think that Bitcoin, if it does make a move, its probability of the move is going to be fast and hard. In other words, that it's not going to be a few percentage. It's going to be big percentages, right? So um, that's just the nature of Bitcoin, which is to say that the nature of Bitcoin is it's a trading vehicle, it's a risk-on vehicle. So in investing, I guess lingo, there's a term when we think of like um, the type of investments that you put your money in. We think of, let's say, like what moves when you want to take a risk, and what do you want to go into when you don't want to take risk, or you want to be safe and make some income and stuff like that. And so basically Bitcoin is one of those products. Um, Bitcoin homers, so to speak, their idea of Bitcoin is like it's a currency or like store of value. The problem with that is that essentially Bitcoin doesn't really have anything to back it up except like in a potentiality of like adoption. But you can say that about any kind of asset, right? Um, and so the idea is that this is a like a currency, right? But if you look at like the institutional backing for Bitcoin, it's like, well, it's non-existent except for like El Salvador or some few banks here and there. Now, obviously, there's more banks picking it up. However, the essentially, like, if you like Aristotle said, I believe that Aristotle said that like currency is basically a store of value that's guaranteed by the sovereign being the government, right? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who have the power to force you, or not necessarily force you, but institute a certain standard of exchange, right? A via medium of exchange, and so that's a currency. Um, and so is Bitcoin a currency? And I'm a fogey. Like, my background is in finance. I mean, um, for, I don't know, 15 years or so. I don't know, 17 years, something like that. But my main point is that essentially, but the way I look at it is like I look at it just the way you look at an investment. Like, what's his cash flow? How much money is it making? Does it have an income? Or in other words, those are like assets that produces some kind of an income, some safer assets versus when you look at, let's say, speculation. In other words, like you're looking for like price increase, percentage increase, right? In that case, we are looking at risk on assets. And so those are basically more like tradable, trading assets, right? Those are not necessarily stuff that you want to necessarily be in it forever. You could stay for a long time, but the goal there is to, like, let's say you buy penny stock or you buy Apple or whatever, and you try to get the exposure to the upside, right? And hopefully sell out and make shit ton of money. So the what the deal with Bitcoin is that to those class of people who think it's a currency, it doesn't have any. It's a currency with who? Like, it doesn't have any backing, right? I mean, El Salvador may back it. I don't know what percent. I think it's like 20% of their reserve basket is in Bitcoin, but the problem with that, again, it's a small country. I mean, nothing, no shade against um, at El Salvador, but I mean, you need some bigger country. I mean, even if it's like maybe a second tier country like Turkey or something like that, that starts to use this as like a percentage, like as a part of their basket, reserve currency basket. This is all theoretical, by the way, right? Because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is, I mean, if the lights go off, your currency went to zero. Like, it doesn't exist, right? Um, and so basically, it doesn't have a fundamental base, right? It doesn't have a fundamental basis to be called a currency. And so you have a lot of people, that are invested in Bitcoin, and essentially there is that fundamental difference in opinion as what Bitcoin really is, where I am, and a lot of these old fogey, people in the financial, world, the way they view Bitcoin is that, it's like a stock on steroid, right? It's like penny stock on crack. I mean, just look at that, right? Look at that. It just shot up to the moon, right? This is not the behavior of, let's say, a stable currency, right? Because when we think of currency, it's a store of value. You want that to be as stable as possible. Um, and Bitcoin, just look at the behavior of it. It's not stable, right? It goes up a shit ton, it comes down a shit ton. So um, and so basically this the behavior of it is more like a speculative product, just like a penny stock, right? And you can also see that the time frame when it just shot to the moon was late in 2020, right? And that's when basically you had the money, the COVID checks came in, and all these kids started to play with in the stock market, right? Now the good thing out of that is that a lot of people started to being like, they really learned to be really good technical traders, um, and that's basically a signal or sign that tells you that this is a trading vehicle, right? Not a stable currency that has fundamentals behind it that makes it a currency. Okay, because there's no fundamentals outside of like basically technical analysis, right? And so there's obviously there's a lot of quant things, a lot of like super uh, super finance young kids that are in this thing, with all kinds of valuation model and all this kind of stuff, like I said, adoption rate, all this kind of stuff. Again, fundamentally speaking, it has to be backed by someone, and I don't mean like a bank. I mean it has to be backed by a strong government, and secondarily, it doesn't have the characteristics of a currency, I've been saying. Um, for example, it doesn't have any, it doesn't pay you anything if you put it in the bank, right? Not granted, I mean nowadays, no like few currencies actually pay you anything if you put them in the bank, but it is what it is. But the essential the point is that this is not a my point that I'm trying to hit home is that this is not necessarily a currency, at least in my estimation. Um, and this is again a position that a lot of old fogey type people have, that's their position. Now, a lot of the Bitcoin bros and finance bros are they made a lot of money, and that's the thing is because you can make a lot of money if you get really good at technical analysis, which is to say that analyzing price itself. That's what a technical analysis is. It's just purely looking at pricing and trading, basically speculating on the behaviors of prices themselves, rather than like how much sales did it have and how much cash flow did it have, and like stuff like that, interest rates on X, how does it impact it, things like that. uh, so what impacts Bitcoin is that it is a speculative vehicle, and what happens when speculative vehicles are in play when risk is on, or so let's say risk on environment where there's a lot of easy money, easy credit, right? People take loans because uh, debt is cheap. You can service those debt at really cheap rates. So therefore, you take loans and you make business, and hopefully you make a lot of money. But the point being that essential that shows up as uh, profits, and when it shows up as profits, the stock market theoretically will go, price it higher, and you might be a billionaire if you're on the right, if you buy the right thing. And I mean, I myself, I do have Bitcoin, but I've been holding the itty bitty little piece of Bitcoin for a long time. I mean, back from like early 2010s, like on the, like 20, like I don't know, 13 or something like that. My brother actually used to mine bitcoins and actual litecoins a lot. So, um, but this is a lot of people that hold on to Bitcoin also is that they're long-term holders. However, they're not necessarily pushing the price up or down themselves. This is the works of essentially traders, right? You can see this long time period where we have a lot of long-term holders here, which is, I mean, it's like a lottery ticket, right? If it goes, great. If it doesn't, well, I mean, it is what it is. Um, and yeah, my if it ever kind of hits $1 million, I probably will have like tens of thousands of dollars just sitting on it. So but chances are it won't. Or go in a bubble, and maybe the bubble has already happened. So on to like why I think it's right now in the intermediate time frame, like in the next, like let's say, a month, hell, within a month to a year, because this is dependent on the economic environment, whether we have risk on or risk off. And so what that means is that, do we have a chance of recession? Do we have, um, um, do we have essential the Fed taking, jacking up interest rates? That basically means that um, that basically makes the cost of borrowing higher. Therefore, what that kind of suffocates, let's say, right, business activity. And so that generally also means that well, business is not going to make money, and people, sell out of the stock market because you have to understand now there's less money to go around, and also you can take your money and put it in the bank and make a better return, right? And so what people do is, well, they sell out because essentially in that kind of environment we have what's a risk-off environment. We people want to cycle that money and put it into something else, some kind of a bond or some kind of a safer investment that pays your income, right? And so imagine an old dude, and I don't know, 65, and he's not going to be buying Bitcoin. He wants to buy something that's stable and gives him a certain income, right? So in this kind of environment, people they're likely to sell Bitcoins. I mean, they're like to sell like risky assets like Bitcoins. Um, and so basically, the way, where Bitcoin is right now, which is about like 28,000, like it's kind of shooting in between 28,000 and like 31,000 or so, but roughly about like 29 and a half, 29 and a half thousand right here, right? And it's been like this for 2 3 weeks. What's it? 2 weeks. This is basically what's called a basing pattern. But what's interesting is that, in this current environment, and since the market is more volatile, there's higher chance of, the probability of recession is higher than ever. At the minimum, the probability of a protracted bear market is we are already at a bear market right now, in my opinion, and we're probably going to be protracted bear market, if not outright recession. So, in this kind of environment, Bitcoin is going to get hammered, and more importantly, technically speaking, this is, prices have been kind of consolidating here in a downtrending market. Generally speaking, the main trend takes over, and so. Um, right? And basically, this is looking like it's like hang by a thread. I mean, and the reason it's hanging by a thread is that if you look at the prices over here, right, there's a lot of support. What's called support, essentially. all that is that um, price have gone to this level and held it because people come in and let's say they buy it over here and push it up, right? Whereas this is a new level and this goes back all the way, like to early 2021. And the problem with not if you short it, it ain't a problem, but uh, the outlook on that is that if it breaks this level, this 29,000 level, which we already are at, however, it has to break it and go down fast for it to mean anything. But it's really kind of set to, if it breaks through to the downside, the next stop is way down at 19.5K, right? And then the really like important level and where it's likely to hit is if it were to break through 29,000. The place where it's likely to hit is and kind of find a let's say strong support, right? The probability of finding a strong support is something about like 12,500. And the reason is because there's once it breaks through 2,900, there's a lot of space for Bitcoin to run to the downside. And the next stop is going to be at 19.5K. But that zone here is really in like here. Let's go back. We're 19 right there. So this zone here, like it's been touched only a few times, right? And before it started moving up higher. And so it didn't form like a long term, like a resistance line here, right? A resistance zone. And so essentially, whenever you have some kind of a zone, that means that a lot of people are either buying or selling at that's an important level, price level. And so basically what this means is that you only have one like major zone here. If you have multiple zones in the same level, that's a strong level. So that's basically just a bunch of lingo to just say that this is not a strong level, right? This is these are like stronger levels, one level, two level, and this is not exactly the same, but it's a little higher. But you look at this level, the 29,000, we're like back to these two levels here, right? And if it breaks through, there's only one touch at this it's called a pivot level, um, price level, whatever you call it. It's just an important like area. And so if it breaks through, that's quite a bit of downside risk and a downside potential loss quite a bit. And then we're looking at 12,000 or so. That's really where you have this kind of like zone that's been forming for like over a year, right? And so that once you enter this zone, we should find some kind of a support. My point is that essentially the reason I was making this video now is because with the market, everything that's happening, everything just crashing, and Bitcoin is technically in a zone where if it does break through the downside, there's a lot of it's likely to keep on moving down. Um, so there's quite a bit of risk now to the downside. That's really the gist of where Bitcoin is right now and why I wanted to make this little quick video and see what happens. So um, yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that because I thought it's gonna be 10-15 minute video. I think it's like well over 25 minutes maybe. I didn't check like how long it's been, and because I was also gonna show it like in using a few of the technicals. um, moving indicators and things like that. But the also the reason that you look at these levels and these areas and why it works is because other people are also looking at it. And all these kids who are trading Bitcoin, up and down every day, they're looking at the same thing I'm looking at it, right? And so essentially, what ends up happening is that there's a certain amount of self-fulfilled prophecy that's at play here, and that's why these are high, generally speaking, um, solid indicators. Generally, they're like good way to gauge price, and you know um, most times it's a tool for you to figure out, and if you're good at using these tools, that's even better, for you to figure out where the probability of the price movement might be and where the higher probability chances would be. So that's really it. I hope I didn't I hope it made sense. Again, this is my thoughts and my thoughts only. um, and I tried to limit the number of lingo and everything. But the gist of it is that Bitcoin is getting weaker. It's in a imagine like it's a bus stop, and if this bus stop, like something happens and the a hole opens up underneath the bus stop, the bus will just go straight down and likely to keep on, keep on just heading down till they, I guess, like find their way into China somehow. So that's really it. Uh, Hope you good luck. Again, this is not an advice, not a recommendation. You should do your own research. You have to do your own research, and don't depend, like depend on me, some artist on the internet. So again, this is um, just a way for me to kill some time, and since I can't, well, I can't do Ukraine videos. I figured, what? Hey, this is, again, like I said, this is in the news. This is things are happening. So anyway, hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully it's informative, and it's you got some information out of it. Maybe a little bit of education. Maybe it's been enlightening, hopefully. But at the minimum, if it's like you got some entertainment value out of it, that's good enough. So all right, guys. Check you guys later.